The skies above Halcyon split open without warning, revealing the monstrous silhouettes of 6 Greleth hive ships descending like ancient gods cast in alloy and hatred. Halcyon, a human colony tucked away on the fertile crescent of Kepler 62f, was never built for war. Its people were not soldiers or tacticians. They were retirees, engineers, botanists, nurses, and welders, ordinary humans who had traded the chaos of Earth for the peace of soil and sunlight. Here, wind turbines whispered against the clouds, solar panels shimmered beneath the gentle sun, and the greatest threat most citizens faced was an overgrown irrigation system or a power converter on the fritz. But peace, like glass, shatters quietly under the wrong pressure. The Greleth swarm didn't come for negotiation. Their war-brood captain, Vexhar, issued orders soaked in cruelty, commanding his legions to take the breeders alive, slaughter the rest, burn the fields, and drain the skies red. Their ships roared as they pierced the clouds, their claws reaching for the earth like spears from the abyss. When their dropships landed near the colony's solar arrays, they expected to find terrified technicians groveling for mercy. What they found instead was Arthur Quinn. Quinn was a relic of another era, 70 years old, with one glass eye and a back full of metal from his days as a structural engineer during the early Martian terraforming initiative. He stood on top of a weather-beaten solar mast, holding a railgun that hadn't seen active duty since the Europa riots. As the Greleth squad approached, he didn't tremble or retreat. He simply muttered, "Wrong panel, boys," and pulled the trigger. The railgun roared with a vengeance long buried. 3 Greleth warriors fell before they registered the threat. A 4th was torn open mid-charge. By the time the others understood, half their unit was strewn across the field. Halcyon didn't rise in organized defense. It rose in instinctive, chaotic resistance that only humans could muster. At the local daycare center, 11-year-old Zara Malik transformed a fleet of educational drones into surgical weapons. She fastened repurposed blades and thermal modules onto school-issued bots and guided them with astonishing precision through her hacked tablet. When Greleth soldiers burst through the doors, they were ambushed not by warriors, but by a child orchestrating an aerial ballet of death, whispering commands like, "Pattern Delta," as her drones danced between armor seams, delivering fatal strikes with unnerving grace. At the Central Medical Dome, Chief Nurse Eladio Cruz faced an incoming squad with a defibrillator in one hand and a crowbar in the other. Known for his gentle bedside manner and uncanny calm, Cruz had prepped the corridor with gas-pressurized oxygen lines and a makeshift spark trap rig beneath the floor. When the Greleth entered, a wall of flame swallowed half of them. Cruz stepped through the fire, uniform scorched but eyes unwavering, and drove the electrified paddles into the chest of a stunned invader with the cold efficiency of a battlefield surgeon. Meanwhile, in the abandoned manufacturing sector, Margot Tanaka, once imprisoned for black market robotics, now a respected master welder, rallied 200 machinists just finishing their shift when the attack began. They didn't scream or scatter. They armed themselves with thermal cutters, arc torches, and brute force. Margot led the charge with a plasma lance in one hand and a rebuilt loader unit stomping behind her. Factory bots were turned into demolition drones. Assembly lines spat out improvised explosives. Cranes rained steel like divine punishment. Margot's voice echoed across the factory floor as she stepped into battle, growling, "Should have picked a poetry colony," before cleaving through enemy ranks with molten fire. From orbit, war-brood Captain Vexhar watched his so-called glorious invasion crumble at the hands of people he had ridden off as livestock. His elite warriors were being gutted by schoolchildren, nurses, retirees, and technicians who had tasted war in previous lives and buried it under their gardens and homes. He turned to his second-in-command and hissed, "This isn't war. This is madness." The reply came cold and steady, "No, Commander. This is humanity." When the smoke cleared, less than 5% of the Greleth invasion force remained. The survivors returned not with victory, but with a warning etched in blood and fear. Human colonies were not civilian targets. They were survivalists dressed as farmers, inventors with buried scars, children armed with algorithms, and elders who carried the past like loaded weapons. They were not prey, they were the storm waiting in silence. Within days, Halcyon resumed its routine. Arthur returned to fine-tuning solar converters. Zara earned a scholarship to the Intercolonial Robotics Institute. Nurse Cruz resumed first aid training with an added module titled improvisational combat medicine, and Margot welded a steel plaque outside the colony gates that read, "We fix machines. We bury monsters. We are not prey." And across the galaxy, the name Halcyon was no longer associated with wind turbines and farming. It became a whispered lesson in every war room: never mistake human peace for weakness.